Hey everyone, we are presenting you Chapter 9 of Clean Code. The chapter focuses largely as to how important automated unit tests are. Unit tests are testing individual components of a software to ensure everything is working as intended. Over the years, it became clear how important tests are, which is why test driven development encourages programmers to write automated unit tests. But how and when should unit tests be written? We could start by following the three rules of TDD. First, don't write code until a unit test fails. Second, don't write more code than you need for a test to fail. And third, don't write more code than necessary to pass the currently failing tests. But there's much more to it. The tests also need to be clean. To this day, writing quick and dirty tests are still common, but even then, it is often worse than having no test at all. Let me clarify. With the advancement of production code, so must the test adapt. If the test code is badly written, the time wasted on adjusting the code is huge since they are kept throughout the development. Though quick and dirty codes are useful in short term, long term wise it's gonna be an ever increasing pain in the ass. It can even lead to the single biggest time problem for developers. Out of that reason, it is better to start over than continuing working with the quick and dirty tests. Test and production codes are both equally important, so you should get both the same attention. If the tests aren't clean, they eventually become unusable, and without them you feel largely restricted to change your production code since you will feel you might introduce new bugs. In that sense, the dirtier the test, the dirtier your production code becomes. And with clean tests and large test coverage, your efficiency and confidence in introducing change will rise.
So, you understand that the dirtier your test code is, the dirtier your code of production will be. So, the test code has to be clear, simple, and you want to say a lot with as few expressions as possible. For example, look on the slide and look at the amount of duplication there is on the code example I put on the slide. There is too many repetition. This is unclear for the external user who read it. You have to put yourself in the shoes of an external user. So to make the code clearer for your coworkers, you can use the API, Application Programming Interface. It's making your classes, methods, function, and constant in an universal understandable shape. Those API standards are constantly evaluating, so you have to stay informed of the upcoming changes. Indeed, the test code has to be simple, succinct, and expressive, but it need not to be as efficient as production code. But it has to be quick to read to make quick changes. On the example, the name of the control tick method is changed to a more explicit name, and all the asserts simplified into one. This makes the code much faster to read.
In this part, the author explains that there is a belief that every unit test function should have only one assert statement. The point is to make it again more understandable by knowing that this statement is the conclusion of what the test is supposed to do. So in this example, that refers to a previous code presented by my mate, the function was split into two functions that has a unique goal. To make it even more understandable, the sub-functions were given the convention given where then, which consists of explaining that given some data, when something happens, then this particular assertion should pass. To prevent from having duplicated code, the author suggests to regroup it in a before function, but he recognizes that this would be too much for such a minor issue. So in this case, he prefers the multiple assert method like in the previous code. This rule is related to the previous one and is more easily applicable. The point is we don't want a function to test completely unrelated things. Indeed, by doing this the reader gets lost and don't get why those items are tested. In this code example, we can see that two different concepts are tested. In the two first bunch of assert statements, we test things given the last day of a month with 31 days, whereas in the last series of statements, it concerns the last day of a month with 30 days.
Okay, so the unit testing can be summarized by the first rules. So the F stands for fast. It means that the faster a test will run, the more errors you will find. I stands for independent. So the test must be independent, otherwise you can end up with a lot of errors and without knowing where they come from. The R stands for repeatable. It's more like for adaptable, so you must be able to run your test everywhere. S stands for self-validating. It just means that the output must be a Boolean value so that the errors are not subjective. And finally, the T stands for timely. You have to write your tests and think about them before writing your production code.
The principle of unit tests is therefore very important in the field of professional programming. To get a clean code, you will need clean test unit. Everyone knows that a bridge is unstable if its pillars are twisted. By respecting the unit test principle, you will get a flexible, maintainable, and reusable code.